What's up, you guys? In this episode, we do talk about everything that has been happening. At the beginning, we ended up talking about Charlie, which rest in peace to Charlie. It's very sad of his assassination. It should not have happened over words. He's allowed to have his own opinion on things, and that's where I want to tell you guys everything that is told on this podcast is all opinion based, how we see things in our lives, right? And it's okay. That's how we see it. He was a very big inspiration, as well as George Yankel, to why I even went to my mom and my brother to start this podcast. I think it's a very good opportunity for us to vocalize and have an opportunity as a mom and son talks, because it's two different generations talking about a lot of different things. I hope you guys do enjoy this podcast, as there was a lot of information we went over, a lot of things we talked about, and I hope you guys really, really do enjoy today's podcast. Without further ado, we talked about a lot of things. We talked about God, and that was beautiful. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Y'all be safe. Love you guys. DMs are always open if you need anything.
Question for you guys.
No, I don't think true love is real.
Like, how are you going to be good at Monopoly? How is one even good at Monopoly? And then I proceed to beat them over the head.
At me being 16 years old and having Efrain at such a young age, and then having you at 21, right?
How is that? How do you think you're going to be able to take that journey? Essentially,
Homie, let me answer that question. You're about to make her cry without even meaning it.
Like, together without having to go to a movie theater.
Yeah.
It's like most people would probably have to most people would hit them over and over and over again. And I kid you not, I'll literally hit a rotate on my chair and grandma's and it's playing over.
What's up, you guys? So it's a new episode with the Mom and Son Talk Show. It's a new episode. We don't have a plan. I have an idea in my mind. We're going to see if it goes and if it plays out. This is episode 4, season 1. The last episode was very interesting with these two. I got to edit it, and it was very interesting. I got to hear it when it went live. And if you guys didn't see, or if you guys didn't notice, we had an intro. If you guys like that, I would appreciate that, or any feedback about that, because it took me a minute to make. But yeah, made a big announcement in the middle of that video too, and there'll be another one again in the middle of this one, so stay tuned. But yeah, so let's get right into it. So as of today, it's Wednesday. And don't really know how to say it, but today, myself, I'm very religious, and I have watched him a couple times. I wouldn't say I watch him every day, but Charlie Kirk passed away today, and we all have our own opinions about things and our own opinions about politics and stuff like that, and I feel like that's totally fine. That's what makes us a free country. But thing gets out of hand when you start trying to put your own opinions, and not your own opinions, but your own feelings into it. And I think that's what happened today. I'm not gonna go too much in depth, but I think that people need to understand that words don't kill nobody. And he was someone that was a father of 2, a husband, son of God, and he walked around and ran around talking about God. And it's not right for something like that to happen to him. It is part of life, but not the way that it should have happened. And it is a sad moment for the U.S. because he was someone very important to the country. And he was someone that kind of got me into listening to and wanted to start my own podcast and a lot of things. Him and Brad Crawford, and the biggest one to me right now is George Janko. And yeah, so rest in peace to him and prayers out to his family. And I really do hope that God touches their hearts right now in these times of hardship, because it's not easy losing someone, and especially someone close like that. You guys want to add anything?
As a mother, and looking at how he lost his life, I think that
I don't recommend. If you haven't watched it, don't watch the video.
Yeah, I will tell you that in a world with so much darkness, we need some light. And I think that it doesn't matter what side you're on. You can be whatever side. You can do with your life what you want. Who you sleep with, what you do, and how you do it, that's okay. It's your life. But I also think that we need to learn to respect each other's point of views and how we want to express ourselves. And violence is never okay. Doesn't matter where it comes from, violence is never okay. And, you know, as one nation, which was exactly what we were intended to be, was one nation. And I had this conversation with Victor while we were at Epcot. I was like, what you see around here in the hall of the, it wasn't the presidents, it was the
American, whatever, the American Hall,
yeah,
like that.
the American Hall in Epcot. And as we saw that, I said, this united front of people coming together and having different views, but respecting each other and true leadership, I don't feel exists today. And it's all because we can't respect each other. That's my view, right? And again, I you know, my prayers as a mother, and as a human, goes out to him and his family in this very difficult time. And may God put his hand over his wife today and his children that will no longer see their father come home. I can only imagine that they never thought that this morning or the last time that they saw each other was going to be the last time. So as we mourn his loss and look at this, I think it's an opportunity for all of us to reflect and be kind to each other and be thankful that we get to come home to our loved ones, hold them closer, and say, I love you one more night, because tomorrow's not promised. And he didn't think that, I promise you, he thought he was just doing what he does best. It's just debating. He was just in his debate. And somebody couldn't take a debate. Victor?
I think the hardest part, honestly, is like there's speculations, and I don't know if speculations was the right word, but I read somewhere around it that his wife and his daughter was there in the tent with him. I think that's an image that should never forget, thanks to someone that didn't even have the mindset of like, it's just words.
Yeah.
He definitely helped a lot of people though.
Victor?
At the end of the day, it's someone's life, and like my mom said, I mean, no matter what end of any political, social, or your experience whatsoever, killing another person in that situation or in that case is deplorable. It's not. It shouldn't have happened, and there's not really much to say about it besides, you know,
So if
we have to now make the choice of moving forward. Does this situation separate us more, or can we try to come together as which we are as a nation, and decide, yeah, we've let this go on too far, you know, and come to the idea and realization that it's okay for people to have a different opinion. It really is more about, you know, everyone wants to save the world, but most people have different views on how to do that. Right? So like we have to like come together and realize that like that we're all just people all in the world just trying to figure everything out at the end of the day. So
I just sorry.
I just think that we need to support each other in this kind of situation, and no matter which side of the fence you sit on, should come together and you know, come together and spread this and grieve this, because that's what, in this case, that's what someone deserves to happen, you know? Like, objectively, he was speaking his opinion and died for it. No one should have that happen to them, you know, especially not someone that was invoking violence. And I think that's really, at least for me, enough about that, because I think a lot of you guys don't watch this for to really get sad. It's probably better to watch this the hopes of,
I don't know. All I gotta say
cheer.
in the conversation, the topic is, I hope I'm wrong, but if it does come out that it was the left side and it was a liberal, it's gonna stir some stuff up. And I think that we should pray like he would want us to do, and how we should do, and pray for one another. Because we're just doing what they want, which is dividing us. And Trump said it best. They try to silence him, and it would never be silenced because of who he is, and it would always live on forever. And I think that he was a great person. Could there have been things that we don't agree with? Sure, that's called an opinion. But it's never worth taking someone's life for. That's all I really gotta say.
All right.
What's our next topic?
Very well.
So
So you're undergoing for contacts now. I love that. You know,
Yeah.
what's the difference, right? Like when you've always had glasses, and now you have contacts.
it's a lot better, sad to be honest.
For him, yeah.
It's kind of weird because like there'll be moments where I'll go like this trying to fix my glasses and I hit my face because I have contacts now. But
I don't know.
it's pretty cool.
I tried contacts today again. It was good. I tried contacts now again. I put them on. One,
Them?
yeah, and then
Yeah.
and
Why
then
did you just not leave them on?
yeah. So here's the funny part, right? Then one, like, I don't know. I guess I didn't put it on all the way, and it fell, and it like either hit the floor or something, and I didn't see it. I didn't know where it went,
You lost it?
so I lost it. So I was like, whatever. And I was gonna be like, I was gonna grab another one, but because I only have a certain amount of trial ones, I was like,
Yeah.
screw that, and I just took out the other one.
Okay.
But it was good. I went and took a vision test.
Have to do my smart.
I didn't change at all, which is good.
My
Good sign.
opinion's a little bit, but that's
Your,
because
your goal's only to either stay at where you are or get better. It's not really.
yeah,
going
I don't
down.
know
It's not-
either or what happened because I lost my regular glasses. Long story short, they flew out a window. And so the glasses I was wearing were very old, and she's like, "Oh yeah, so it's a little bit different, and da da da, not too much." So I don't know if they got worse or better. I think they got better because the last glasses were better than the ones I was wearing now. I mean, the glasses I was wearing after I lost my last ones were worse than the ones I lost. So I think I got better. But yeah.
That's cool. So what else is new? What did you want?
No, I actually want to go into a more in-depth conversation because
Okay.
I feel like my whole idea with the podcast, honestly, for myself, or why I really, really wanted to start one, was inspired by Georgienko, and I think I want to talk more about God. I think that's where I want to really go, and I'm very curious to hear your guys' story, and how you feel about it, and your thoughts, and how you go about it, and we all have different encounters with God, and kind of want to hear that.
Well, so my story began when Victor was 2 years old. And I was actually doing my nails at a salon on the nail salon on Bird Road and 112. And I remember that it was this beautiful blonde lady. And we were just there, just talking while we were waiting. Victor was in his stroller, doing what he does best, just sitting there.
Nice.
And hanging out with his mommy. And so as we're sitting there, I started talking to this lady, and I explained to her, like, I had always been Catholic, and I really didn't understand other religions. I knew that they existed, but I really didn't understand other religions. So I kind of just sat there and had the conversation with her, and I was just telling her that I wanted to kind of have a relationship, with God, and that, I kind of just wanted to do that. And so she said, have you ever done the prayer, the salvation prayer? And I said, honestly, I don't even know what you're talking about. So she says, well, you can have a personal relationship to God. And I'll never forget her words that she tells me. Because in a Catholic religion, right, you go to the saints. You go to, if you want. So she's talking to me. We're having this conversation, and I do the prayer with her right there and then. And, I don't know if I went to the bathroom or what the specifics were. And like I said, I'll never forget what she told me, which is, why do you want to have a relationship with multiple people when you can go to the head and the leader of all, which is Jesus Christ? And so that's what my history began with God. And as I don't know if I went to the restroom to wash my hand, or maybe when I went to change Victor. I don't remember. The point is that when I come back, she was nowhere to be found. I remember talking to the lady next to me and looking around, and I never saw that lady again. But I can tell you, she was blonde, tall, like very American looking. And that's not something that you really see in that area. But it was a beautiful conversation, and I think God sent me my first angel. After that, I had gone to, because previously to that, I remember going to church, Catholic church. I did my communion, I did my confession. I was, ready to get married at church because that's what my mom and my dad wanted for me. But that day, it was different, you know, because I remember also going to Christian church with, you know, one of my friends' boyfriend at the time. And I remember also some guy that I dated that he was also Christian. And none of those people led me to the path of me doing my salvation prayer, or, you know, no one, none of that, only that very moment. And I remember going to church, and at that moment I was with my ex-husband and his sister, and we had gone to church with his mom, and I remember that was the first time at Alpha and Omega that I did it again. But this time I went up to the front. And I remember that my best friend, or whatever you could call her, a very good friend of mine, who was his sister, she actually gave me my first Bible, that was a Christian Bible, and I still have it. It sits in my closet, and there's a song that I recently was hearing that, you know, your Bible, in the verse of the song, it says, your Bible has dust, but your cell phone, you pick it up every day. And it did something to me, you know, and I keep hearing that verse in my head. And, you know, I've had so many beautiful encounters with God. I can't tell you so many beautiful memories, and God always speaks to me. When God puts a person in my mind, it's interesting that I reach out to that person and that person confirms what feeling they were having. So that's my story of.
Do you
of
feel
how I
like
got
God
there.
gives you that calling or that feeling because deep down you're very connected with God because of who you are as a person? Because of how caring you are as a person?
I think that God had I think that my calling, and I could be wrong, right? I can't say that this is a for sure thing, but I kind of feel like my calling is, I don't know if it's praying over people or helping them in that moment. Because as I look back at, I've always been a fixer. And even in my career, I'm a fixer. I do transformation. And it's very interesting to me to see that. And I feel that that's my calling, is transforming, you know? I remember that at a very young age, all I wanted to do was save Oscar. And I remember crying about that, and I remember praying about that, and I remember so vividly my teacher at that very moment telling me, you can't save him if he doesn't want to be saved. And he was in a really dark place. I mean, we had to call the ambulance because he almost died at school. And I remember that day as if it was happening right now, and I remember freaking out and going to that, and that's when she told me that. And fast forwarding to seeing who Oscar is today, God answered my prayer that I had asked for when I was a little girl. And ever since then, I wanted to change him. And as he walked in and out of my life through the years, all I wanted to do was watch Oscar be saved. And seeing who Oscar is today, and it makes me nothing but proud to see him be the father that he is, be the husband that he is, be the leader of his household the way that he is. And seeing him, it is one of my biggest testimonies that I could say I saw. I think that I had this conversation with Victor the other day. I said, why don't you go to church? And I said to him, I'm not going to push you to go to church. Because when you push somebody and they're not going in their own will, that person is not going to receive the message. And I remember that being Oscar lived with me in 3 occasions. I begged Oscar to go with me to church so many times. And it's that was implanted in my head for many years. And seeing my brother,
That was a nice one.
that was impressive. What my brother Robert,
Yeah, that was nice.
and it was, that dream that I had with Ivan, and then hearing that my brother had baptized himself, had gone to baptism without anybody. He did that by himself, with himself. And seeing my brother, who he is today, my brother doesn't miss church. I miss church. And my brother, no matter where he is, he listens to church.
I feel like that was a good thing about COVID. I feel like, wow, I just really put my whole stand off in the camera. But I definitely feel like that was a good thing about COVID. COVID opened doors for a lot of churches to go live, and they've kept it to today. And by far, one of my favorite pastors will have to be Stephen Frederick. And the fact that, like you were saying, Robert has never missed an episode.
No.
Not even if it's not him, it doesn't matter. He's there.
He's there. And he sends you, he listens to the first song, and if he connects it, with you.
He even sends me messages in the morning.
Or
everybody, he sends it to everybody.
Victor, he'll send it to Victor, and it's just such a beautiful thing to watch that. It's such a beautiful thing to watch that. I think seeing my brother Abelito, go to church, because my sister-in-law is a miracle of God. I mean, I remember vividly what the doctor told me. She was dying of COVID. The doctor is telling me this, and he says to me, "Did you understand, ma'am, everything that I'm telling you?" And I said, "No." You know why? Because I don't believe what you are telling me. I believe in a stronger power of God, and God is going to take her out of there. I am not listening to what you have to say. I am believing, and I am standing in God's name, in God's word, and God's promise to me that she is going to go home. And I remember in the bathroom, I get chills about that. I remember in the bathroom, laying on my knees in the shower, crying for my sister-in-law. And I was just impressively crying. Like I'm telling you, like if she had at that moment. And she's alive today. And I told God, if you bring her home, I promise you that I will bring her to the feet of God, of Christ. And she walked through those doors at church with my brother Aurelito. And to me, that was just impressive, because I would have never thought that I would see the day that my brother would walk into a church like that. But it's so different, right?
That's kind of why I feel like God works in mysterious ways. And I feel like it's very important for people to really understand that, like, everybody has an image of God, and it's just a stuck image. And for some, it's not bad. For others, it's not bad. But he is so mysterious, and he works in such a miracle way where, and for me, I sit there and I think sometimes at night, and I wonder things like, so many people have gone through so many things, you know, and prayed over so many things, and have been saved, have been founded in the image of God, and like, my biggest thing is everybody talks about perfection. To me, perfection doesn't exist, right? But I think that we are perfect in the image of God. Everybody has a defect. Everybody. In fact, when you read the Bible, God's only disciples, all of his disciples all had a problem. They weren't perfect people. They weren't Pharisees. They weren't preachers. They weren't nothing. They were people that generally came from broken homes, broken-hearted, broken something. And I feel like a lot of us expect to have this standard in front of Christ, where it's like, I think it just makes you even worse, because God doesn't care about who you are in front of other people. I think you really are who you are behind those closed doors. And that, to me, is the most important thing. Because I could sit here and preach all day, and I could sit here and talk all great about God, but as soon as I go home, I'm questioning my life. I'm questioning this. I'm questioning that. So do I really believe in God? That's where I feel like people need to understand, like, just, and I've learned this more recently. That's why I kind of wanted to dive in more into it, because we all have a different image of God, right? And in the sense of what he may do for us, or what he may do for that person, or different things. And it's very interesting to see it from different people's point of views.
Of course. And as you look at life, right, and I think that what bothers me the most is the Christian or the Catholic or any religion that is trying to push something or criticize you or make you feel uncomfortable. No one here is perfect.
Yep.
And God surrounded himself by people that were not perfect. You know. And so to me, that's how we.
What's up, you guys? I'm sorry I'm interrupting real quick. Just want to let you guys know, quick update. We are on Spotify, and we're on YouTube. They're live and recorded, so you can watch them later on if you need to, and as well as Instagram. If you guys want to know any updates that end up happening throughout the week, or any updates that are going on, or anything I want to keep up with us, hit our Instagram. Everything will be put in the description. Do not fail to miss out. Do not, get to it. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms, as well as TikTok, so you guys are all up to date with everything. There you guys. Y'all be safe, and let's get right back into the episode.
Should be is helping each other to walk that path together, to choose God on a daily basis. And if we happen to not choose God in that very moment or that day, that you still get to choose God time and time again, and that you're reminded of his promise to you.
I think that's such an amazing fact right there. Like, the fact that, and it's not saying that you should live your life like that, because I don't think you should at all, but the fact that no matter what, you can always run to God. And it's not a good idea, because in the sense of, like, you don't want to go do a sin and the same sin and the same sin and then like, oh, I'm going to run to God. That's not the whole point, because that's just wrong. But it's the fact of, I messed up and I really generally didn't realize what I did, but God's there to catch you. Mary Magdalene, if you read the Bible and you see the show The Chosen, God saved her from being think it was a prostitute, if I'm not wrong. And there was an episode where she goes back and she falls. We are bound to fall. We are human. That's what God created us. That's why we have the problem that we have. And it all started with Adam and Eve. So it's so important for you to understand that no matter how bad you've messed up, that you feel like you've messed up, God will forgive you. You just have to give him time. You have to be on his timing, not yours. And I've learned that so recently, where it's like patience is so important, not just in success, not just in work, not just in life, but in God's timing, because everything is possible with him. And how is it going to be possible? By the timing.
Absolutely. Victor, you're a little quiet.
Your turn, buddy.
Okay. So, I think that we should begin by telling all the viewers that at no point in time should you feel that in our podcast that we're pushing you in one direction or another.
Correct.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
You're always able to feel what you want to feel and follow who you follow.
And if you, and to put emphasis on that, let's say this thing that we're doing blows up and we become really famous, or however you want to put it, right? If there is something that you do or believe in or say or anything, if you think that we would not give you the time of day, you are unbelievably wrong. I would sit down with anyone that disagrees or opposes my views, and I would give them a cup of coffee. I would hang out with them, because at the end of the day, just like with the Charlie Kirk thing, it's not a matter of you're against me, so I have to do everything to put you down. It's more of a matter of this is the way that I get through life, which is different than the way that you could get through life.
Absolutely.
Now, that being said, I believe that Jesus has an account of his death in which he gets resurrected, and also throughout this time he also performs various miracles. This is what I believe in. Okay. Now, I also believe that Jesus is the personification or the physical embodiment of God's perfection.
Agreed.
Now, I am a person that if there is something to strive towards, I need an example of it. And my example is Jesus. So my goal isn't to necessarily become as popular, world renowned as Christ, but my goal is to walk the way that he did, with compassion in both of his hands and the faith in everything that he did. because I think one of the strongest passages that really puts me into the perspective of this is, and The Chosen does a beautiful way of visualizing this. But if you really want to pick one of the Bible or The Chosen or the Bible, I'll tell you the Bible a million times over. Nothing could beat the original.
Agreed.
But when he had to be there talking to and knowing that his own best friend would die, and sitting at a table knowing that one of the people that he so closely loves is going to betray him, and not acting in anger towards God in any of it, shows to me what true humility looks like, and compassion, right? Because I don't think if I was put into a similar situation, I could say I would act the same. And in the Bible, it tells you expressly that Jesus wept for his best friend. And I think that if I was in that situation, I couldn't even look at my friend in his eyes knowing that he would pass away hours later, and not be angry or sad or because you have such a direct connection to this, what I like to call God, which to me is a like sixth dimensional being, right? Which is just someone, it's he is technically considered a he because there's no personal pronoun, right? But in reality, he is knowing everything that you're going to do before and after you do it, because time does not apply to him, as well as knowing how you're going to feel about something, because he's the one who has created and sculpted you. And I take all these ideas and these ways, and that's how I try to live my life. Now, do I mess up a lot? I would say more than 99.9% of the time, I will do something every day that'll make me think and be like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But I think that brings you closer to God, because you're at a constant state of forward progress. And I think that's what Jesus excelled at, because he was already perfect. So the act of striving for that level of perfection, whether you believe in God or Jesus or not, I believe that at a certain level, everyone should have that idea to kind of strive for that level of, not necessarily perfection, because that can be destructive, but that level of greatness, of showing humility and compassion to others. And that's what I believe in as a person who has read some of the Bible.
And so, Victor, you're always very I like to use the word practical. I don't know why, I always think of you and how, I admire the way that you are. And I admire the way that you are when you, also the way how you simplify things, I get into rabbit holes, and even in the way I express myself, sometimes I just over express myself, and I over express myself because I want people to have a full story. And I love that. I love even how you talk about God and how you've read the Bible, but you make it very practical for people to understand it. It's very good that you're like that. And I mean, what I like about Efrain is how Efrain preaches the gospel to everybody, even to his friends, who wouldn't, really. I mean, Trevor, Lucas, all of these people that, Hector, Adrian, just like all of them. And it says a lot about who you are as a person, Efrain, that you're able to do that. Because a lot of people have fear of talking about God. And that with fear, we will never be able to save more souls to God, right? And that's the intent.
I definitely agree with that. And I think like nowadays, I've noticed, I'm going to say this and then ask a couple of questions of Victor, but I feel like nowadays we have but we have been able to find a lot more people that have believed in God, that have found Him in many different ways. And for myself, I'm not someone that I would tell you to believe in God, or you have to believe in God, better said, because I would tell you should. But I would never say you have to, because I can tell you that, but that doesn't mean that you're going to. And I feel like a lot of people rather choose the long way, and that's fine. God had given you that opportunity for a reason, and I'm not nobody to change that. But as long as I'm able to plant a seed inside of you, and however else you get to God, that's you and Him. But the fact that I'm able to speak about it, I love. I'm not going to try to sit and change your mind. I'm not going to try to sit and tell you, you have to do this or this or that or this and that. Because who am I to say something like that? But I'm not even perfect myself. I fall sometimes, right? And it's okay. It's okay to fall. It's literally okay. God is there to give you His hand and tell you to walk with Him. And for myself, that's why I love to talk about God. I won't talk about God if someone doesn't want me to talk about God, because I respect that. Just like everybody's religion. I don't care what religion you're in. I respect you for who you are in your religion. Because at the end of the day, that's okay. That's how you see life. I'm nobody to judge you. But I would definitely say I would expect that back. I would definitely expect for you to respect out of my part. And I think that that's where things get sticky, because some people don't understand that. Some people would rather risk this and risk that just for an opinion. And then we go back to having like what happened today. Everybody's entitled to have their own opinion. You want to have a debate about it? Okay, we can have a debate about it. That's fine. It's just a regular debate. But to go to extent of how it goes to nowadays in life is not worth it. It's not worth it to me, I would say. I do think that talking about God is one of the most beautiful things that you can do. Worship and all that is pretty nice. But Victor, so going back to a couple of things that you were talking about, I don't feel like you really expressed how you found Christ, how that connection between you and Him, and how you feel about him. How do you go about things and your daily life? How do you express yourself to him?
So when did you guys make the decision?
Or just, fuck my questions, right?
No, seriously, it's tied to your question.
Sorry, I shouldn't curse.
But when did you accept God as your Lord and Savior? What was your story? You guys heard my story at the beginning. What was your story? When did you make the decision to do this, the prayer, and decide that that was the path you were going to take?
Okay. So
Don't smile too hard, your teeth might come out.
here's the way that. Okay. So with me, I am, as my mom said, I think very logically, problem solution, very process by process. So I first grew up because my mom put me in church and in these atmospheres where I didn't know what was the power in what I was doing until I noticed that I was in that moment. Like I wouldn't know why I felt the way that I felt when I was in church, right? And even when a pastor spoke, I could always not only visualize, but even as a little kid, I could contextualize what they're saying into a broader perspective. So even as a little kid, I learned how to understand and grasp information that was not necessarily like grammatically above mine or like reading level above mine, but like emotionally was supposed to surpass me. And it felt weird because I started to notice it, especially when I would go to the kids club because I was a little kid. And I would always feel like it was different there. Like it was different there. Like when I were to go there and sit down on the little black chairs and listen to the way that they would talk things, it would always seem to me like it wasn't as in depth, or I couldn't just get the same feeling.
Gambit.
And after a while, when I grew older and things happened within that church, I started to develop my own feelings about growing as a Christian. And if someone were to ask me, I would tell you that I'm a Christian wholeheartedly, and I won't be afraid to say that, right? But I would never automatically tell people that I'm a Christian, not because of fear, but more, I don't want you as that's all that you see me as. I want you to see me as Victor, a follower of Christ, not a follower of Christ that goes by the name of Victor. Do you see what's the difference? Right? And I started to learn the idea of, for me, it's better for me to be and learn my things in a very isolated position, in a place where I could go and God speaks through me in a lot of the things that I say. And I know that's weird to say, and I don't know how I could really describe that, but there's certain times where I say certain things and it's not me saying them because I know what I'm saying. It's me saying them because God speaks it through me. And on a certain level, to me, it sometimes feels like I'm rambling, but I know that in some aspect of it, it is what God is wanting me to say because of the outcomes that I'm getting from it. Like, a lot of my friends that in the beginning, when we first talked and stuff, they weren't Christian. And I never pushed it on none of my friends, never, not once. Even to this day, I have a really close friend of mine. He's completely and fully atheist. And I will to this day never push him into that kind of stuff because I think that he deserves to find his own way, whatever that is.
Yep, agreed.
And whenever he wants to have that conversation with me, he can.
Yep.
Right. And to go back to my testimony, I don't really talk about it like that because my testimony wasn't a one day to the next. It was a gradual progression towards having a not physical but spiritual attraction to a higher power. And the idea to me that something has to there has to be an order to structure and through the way of living and the ideas that we would have, right? And that's where I derived the idea of Christ. And I didn't just immediately jump ship from being on my own to God. I made this gradual progression through understanding what it is to physically read the Bible from an outside perspective and really understanding what's going on first. And then over time, the more you read it, the different spiritual ideologies you can derive from it, you could take from it to really boost your level with Jesus. So, and I don't know if I answered your question completely yet, but what I will tell everyone and all of our viewers is if you want to start anywhere, I would say try to read the Bible. And if you can't, right, try to go to a church, get that sort of feeling, and whatever they read, right, from whatever, because they usually take like a couple sentences or a couple chapters from the Bible, take those and just elaborate on them. Grab what they take and just keep reading from there, right? Because if they give you a focal point or a center to kind of go on and you could just expand from there instead of starting in the middle or at the end, you will slowly grab bits and pieces of that knowledge. And if all else fails, I will suggest to you to watch The Chosen. If you are someone that needs a visible example of what it was like for all these people. By these people, I mean Jesus and his apostles and the people that were around him. And And this is just from a physical example. This is not, I'm not talking about spiritually and how to get closer to God. This is just to get your foot in the door of the idea of what that looks like.
And I think that everybody will have an opportunity. Don't, and I tell you, you know, I've been struggling, right? I've been struggling with trying to figure out exactly, you know, I kind of felt embarrassed not so long ago, you know, because my husband was going through his own thing, and I was, you know, been struggling at work, and I was embarrassed to say to God, help me one more time. Take me out take me out of this situation that I'm in. And I just felt so like, I felt embarrassed because how am I going to ask him again? And how many times is he going to take me out of this hole that I'm in? And, you know, as I look at my life, I can honestly say that only God has helped me get to where I am today. Even through the ups and the downs, even through everything, God has gotten me there and has allowed me to get there. And I'll tell you that I don't remember who it was. They said to me, what about if Victor and Efrain come to you time and time again? Will you continue to help them? And I said, yes. So if you believe that God is your Lord and your Savior, why are you so scared to talk to him and ask him to help you one more time? And so it's true, right? It's so true that I had this fear, and you know, I started going to church again. I always find myself looking for churches that are dark. I feel like I want to connect to God. I feel like at that moment it makes me feel better. But I will tell you that as I look back at everything and I think of what my life will be, don't be scared to ask him exactly what you want for your life and to trust in him. And, you know, he gave me this home, a home that I had prayed for since I was very little. Not little, I was 16 years old when my parents split up, because all I wanted was a home that my brother, my mom, my boys had a place to call home again, because we lost that when my mom and my dad split up. So as I end this chat on my side today, I tell every viewer that give it a chance. It's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen tomorrow. but I have seen people get transformed. I've seen people go from having nothing. I've seen people that have literally transformed their entire life and just fine. Just try it. Just, you know, listen to a TikTok about a prayer, right? Or listen to a TikTok that even had to, about a sermon of a church. Or, there's plenty of people that do prayer request or, when I can't sleep and I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I I jump on at 6 o'clock with this girl that I follow that she starts at 5 all the way to like about 6 or and I listen to her and I join her and I just kind of understand what they're going. So I definitely recommend for you guys to try it out. That's what I would say.
I definitely feel like, um, being that it's a very interesting topic and very important in the sense of what you do and what you want to be in, all of that. But I think it's very important that if you're seeking it, find it the right way. I would 100% recommend, if you want to find it, don't try to do it alone. So you can do it a better way. Like Victor said, go to church, and do what you want to do, and God will find you in its time. And you need to be willing to open your arms to him. I definitely would want to be the one to say that my DMs and the Instagram to the show are always open, no matter what. If you want a prayer request, I'm always open to praying for someone. So if you want to send a prayer request, my DMs at Efrain Trades or the podcast DMs are always open, which is Mom and Son's talk show. And I would always be open to praying about it, praying about you, or praying about someone that you may have in mind. And I think it's very important to, if you start that journey, don't think that it will be easy. And I heard from someone that being a Christian is maybe the hardest thing that someone can do, because it's not an easy thing. It's very difficult, and it's very easy to lose yourself, because now you have a lot of other people that would rather fall on you, that would rather see you fail. But if you keep him in your center of your life, keep him in the center of everything that you do, and pray about it, and make sure that you're listening to him, you'll be fine. Because I came from being very, very, very depressed, and I'm very open about it, to finding a purpose to life, to wanting to learn more about life, and learning every single day, wanting to learn every single day. I try to put myself in a position where I'm the dumbest person in the room, because generally speaking, I want to learn. I don't want to be in the room with this, either I'm the smartest person or in the position of none of that, because I want to learn as much as I can. And you guys should do the same. Find your purpose in your life. Pray about it. If you find God, if you want to know about him, pray about it. Would I say give it a try? Sure, why not? Definitely. And I feel like it is pretty late, and this podcast didn't last that long, but I think we're gonna end it here. And like I said, the purpose of this episode is times are getting a little bit harder, and us all together is better than us all alone. And if we can sit there and come together to be the best person that we can be, it's a lot better for one another. I personally I want to tell you I love you. I'm rooting for you from afar. Keep at it. And if it gets hard, you're doing something well. I learned that very long ago. This year has been a wonderful year, and I pray that it continues to great because God's got my back. But as far as everybody else goes, lock in with yourself, pay attention to what yourself needs, and become the person that you want to become. With that, I say good night, good morning, good afternoon, whenever you're seeing this. I love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. And peace out, you guys. Night.
Good night.
Try to learn something new every day. And
Make a new memory. Never forget that.
I guess make a new memory.
Every day you gotta make a new memory.
I'm telling you to learn at least one thing every day and try to be just a little bit better than you were yesterday. And no matter who you are, no matter if you're a person that makes a joke out of everything, but in reality needs help, or the person that sits in the back of every classroom and leaves everything alone. I think that if you grab both of them, they'll have a lot more in common than you think. And what I mean by that is everyone goes through some type of struggle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay to not be okay and work through that. But the importance is to work through it together. So when I say to you, try to make a new friend.
And we'll be their friend.
Like I
And
said,
yes, we'll
the
be your
DMs are
friend.
always open. Feel free to always text there.
Absolutely.
Theirs, not mine. I'm kidding. Maybe.
For sure. You know, we're here to pray
I
for
don't
you. We're
I'll save you out of a burning building, but I don't know if I'll personally give out prayer requests.
can pray.
Like I said, just message the Instagram or put it in the DM in the comments. Hey, I need a prayer request. I'll reach out to you, and we can get a prayer request going for you.
All right. Until the next one.
Until the next one, you guys be safe. Like I said, I'm rooting for you guys from afar. Don't lose sight of who you are. And make a memory day. Love you guys. I hope you guys can take some knowledge from it. I hope you guys can learn some things from the podcast today. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Don't add to the population. Don't take away from the population. And don't get forcefully taken away from the population.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Peace, y'all. Love you.